As you continue to work in your spreadsheets, you're going to want to be flexible and open-minded as you finalize your coding scheme. For instance, let's take a look at this tweet. And if we look at the user information, we can see that it's coming from the state police organization. We started out thinking about individual users posting tweets, but there may be the need for another column here. We can use our spreadsheet and add a column which will allow us to now keep track of the type of poster. So we'll insert a new column and we'll call this something like poster. And then we can add for our first tweet that this was an individual. And in the next one, we can add that this is an organization. As we keep working, we might find even other terms that we'll use here. We might put government organization. There may be nonprofits. We'll figure out what codes to use as we move through here. And then we can go through and code the rest of this tweet. And as you do this coding of the rest of the tweets, you're going to want to also remain flexible. So we see that, this is a pro-mask tweet clearly. And if we look at this and we realize, they're talking about health, it might be that health is actually a better term than safety for the rationale behind these stances. So we might find that not only are we creating new categories, we are even adjusting some of the codes that we're using within the categories. You're also going to find that there are going to be instances that you just need to leave blank. So the political leanings of this organization are not something that you're really going to code because it's not an individual the same way as the other ones. And this might prompt you to recognize that you need to be even more open-ended as you brainstorm and start to do the initial steps in here. And for that reason, you might want to add a column or take notes somewhere where you can keep track of open codes, which are really just thoughts that bubble up. So as I look through this tweet, I see it has a lot of hashtags. I see it's connected to the police. I see it's using a lot of emojis. I don't really know yet how that's going to fit into my final data scheme here, but I do want to keep track of it and allow my brainstorming to develop. And I might do the same with this next tweet that is, it seems like it's making a claim here about what happens when people don't wear masks. But the idea that COVID comes back after someone has gotten it, that seems a little bit less clear, and I don't see any facts, so I might make some notes that this seems to be based on opinion. At some point, these notes will reveal trends and can be translated into new codes or even new columns in your spreadsheet. So if something like normalizing becomes a pattern, you can continue to mark it in the open codes and eventually add it to your categories in your spreadsheet and keep track of it. Let's look at this tweet. This one seems particularly interested in that it seems to be reporting on some kind of incident, something that just happened. So there's a kind of anecdote in here. And I might code this as something like, well, it seems like this person is offering a report or telling a story. It may be that this is a personal experience that someone has had related to masks. So that would be useful for me to keep track of as opposed to somebody posting a kind of PSA type tweet. So, I might code this as a story or a kind of reporting, or maybe at some point I discover that incidents are being kept track of or people are sharing incidents. And there's a little bit of a humor item in here, which we may, so it says someone's offering this as a bad joke, but we might want to tag that, and eventually rules and authority. So you really just have a lot of brainstorming going on, and eventually you may have to track down, again, more information about the poster. And we can see that this poster seems to be kind of a left-leaning person. When you find information about the poster, though, you're still going to have to be kind of objective as you move through here and see, okay, I know this poster is way on the left. I've determined that from looking at their profile. But does that mean that this tweet is actually a hardcore kind of political tweet? So when I get to the stance behind this mask wearing promotion, and it says it's a pro-mask wearing, I might be tempted to tag this as a political rationale because I saw that the poster seemed very left-leaning. However, that doesn't really come through in the tweet itself, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this with the health tag, even though I know the poster himself seems pretty political. The tweet itself, I can't carry that knowledge of the poster over. When I get to the aspects of the user, I can certainly make my judgments about age, if that's something I'm tracking, and political leaning, and I can find, eventually I'll be able to use that information, but I just have to be careful about keeping some distance between judgments about the poster and then readings of the text of the tweet itself.